Good morning. Happy Friday. I'm Shafer Suggs with F3. So I can't see, you may not be able to see, but I'm here with my lovely host who is actually behind me watching over. But Faith, my co-host, will be back on Monday, and she will resume. She's just taking a break. We are celebrating our 55th episode. My name is Shafer Suggs. I'm formerly with the New York Jets. I'm currently on the executive board with the National Football League Players Association here in Chicago. My daughter Faith, who for your first-time viewers, is a former Duke graduate basketball player. Now she's the director of basketball operations at Long Island University, along with their social media manager. Our goal is to use our faith to strengthen the family core for those around us. For those who are tuning in for the first time, and I'm sure that we do, welcome. And then for those who have been with us this journey for the past 6 months, we really, really appreciate you. Today, we bring a very, very special show. I know, I think episode 23, episode 24, we brought some of my former teammates from the New York Jets on. It was a great show Friday, New York Jet Friday. I think it was Bobby Jackson, Johnny Land, and Johnny Johnson. And we were able to talk about some today's topics, some current topics, talk a little bit about the playing back in the early 70s. But today, and it's Ball State Day. I got my hat, I got my helmet in the background, and I am bringing on some former, not only teammates, but dear friends for life, Greg Jones and Art Lax. I do want to say that our third guest was Clyde Riley. Clyde, unfortunately, lost his mom early this morning. So we sent our prayers out to Clyde, his family, and we will have Clyde on the show again. But just to tell you a little bit about Clyde, Clyde was one of the reasons that I went to Ball State. He was my hometown hero. And I remember one of the most difficult times in my life was when I broke my leg when I was in 9th grade. I was laying in the hospital. And I was a big fan of our high school basketball team. At that time, it was the Elkhart Blue Blazers, and they were really good. And Coach Doherty came in with a basketball, and there was a signature of all the basketball players on that basketball, and Clyde Riley was one of those. And when I was recruited by Ball State, Clyde was the player, the senior player that kind of convinced me to come to Ball State, because he was also a multi-sport athlete too. As you well know, I actually lettered in football and basketball, but Clyde also participated in 3 sports too. A wonderful man, a dear friend, and we will also have him back on the show. My first 2 guests, actually my first guest, I'm gonna bring you on, Greg.
Okay.
Hey, Greg, how are you doing?
All right. Doing good.
Greg and I were freshmen at the same time. We came in 1970, 72?
72, right. Yes.
72.
Yes.
Yeah. So what's going on with you, Greg?
Oh, nothing much, man. Just trying to keep things going here just south of Chicago, and, all the things that are going on in that city. But we are holding on and dealing with the pandemic, and trying to keep things together as we all kind of try to survive and get back to some normal form of life. So we're doing good. Can't complain.
Right. Well, you look good. So I see you have your Ball State gear too.
Oh, yes.
Number in the background. I see that. Do your jersey still fit, Greg?
With a little assistance from my wife, I can get in that. But it fits. It fits. Right.
So for you who got a chance to look at our Facebook promo, Greg and his lovely wife, Karen, who I also met. We actually were roommates together when you met, Karen, and I was actually in your wedding. So I've been knowing you for a long, what's that, 19? Well, it's been a while.
Yeah. It's been a while. I need the calculator to count the years. But yes, about 19 we were together and have kept in touch ever since.
Oh, I know. No. So we're bringing our third guest, Arthur Lax. Art, bring him on. Art, how you doing?
I'm well.
So Art is the senior football player on this team. Now, I think when we were freshmen, Greg, Art, you were a junior.
I was a senior because you started as a freshman, and you were starting on at my senior year.
Okay.
Right on.
What's going on with you, Art?
Say what now?
What is going on with Art Lax these days?
You know what? I am getting old and ready to stop doing any work. But right now, our business is keeping us busy. Greg said something about the COVID. Yeah, I am a funeral director, so I am associated with that a lot. But other than that, I'm a first-time grandfather, 2.5-year-old child. She comes by here very regularly. So I'm enjoying her and moving forward.
Awesome.
Right.
I know you know that.
And I have on my Ball State jersey as well.
Yes.
Now, Art, you play defensive tackle or defensive end?
As a sophomore, defensive end. As a junior and senior, defensive tackle.
Now, my story about Art, when I was a freshman, I saw him for the first time. He had this really tight shirt on with his muscles sticking out. He had his hat on, and then he had the no teeth thing going on. And I was scared to death of you.
Well, you quickly overcame that fear because you played on the team, and we did a great job on the defense.
Oh, we did have a great defense. We had a great offense, too. Now, Greg, I keep telling you this story. People say, who hit you the hardest in your football career? And they're thinking that it's probably somebody when I played in the pros. But you hit me probably harder. It was in a spring scrimmage. I intercepted a pass, and I decided that, okay, he's on offense. I'm just going to run over him. And you hit me so hard, man. That's probably one of the hardest I've been hit in my whole career. I don't know if you remember that. But,
no, I don't remember. I just remember that offensive players always had this awful taste for the pretty boys on defense. So I thought I'd get my licks in whenever I could. So
you're saying I was a pretty boy?
Yeah. The pretty boys got all the glory. You and Art, look at those tackles. Did they talk about the offensive guard? No. They didn't talk about that block. So we thought we'd get you back whenever we could.
Yeah. But it was I saw stars when people say, because when we had our when we were going through our concussion lawsuit.
Oh yeah.
With the NFL, they were asking me how many concussions do you remember having, and of course at that time you never knew if you had a concussion.
Right. Let's go.
So the right answer was I don't recall, but I do remember getting up and walking the wrong way after that play. So that's called a concussion. Like, but God, it's just so. I mean, as I'm talking here, and the fact that we don't have Clyde on the call, because Clyde was. Let's talk a little bit about Clyde. I remember him. Now you're talking about pretty boy. Clyde was one of the most colorful. And he kind of brought me out of my shell. When I tell people that I was kind of shy, Clyde could probably be on this call and on this show and validate that. But Clyde was just so animated, but one of the most wonderful teammates you could ever have. And
I agree with you there.
Right. I don't know. Did he when you got recruited, Greg? Did Clyde take you around? Who took you around when you got recruited?
I think it was a group. Clyde was one of them, and some other guys there. We came in together with the other Art. I call this Art Lax's Art 1, and then there was Art Stringer, Art 2. And so we kind of bonded that when we came up for the recruiting meeting. So met Clyde, met Jim Lewis, guys like that. Tim,
Wes Miller,
guys like that. So Art and Clyde, those are the guys we looked up to. They were larger than life, as freshmen coming on there. It's like, oh my gosh, I got to play against these guys,
right?
But they made it easier for us to make that transition from high school into the college life. So we appreciate all the
I remember Art. Art, you and Clyde looked a lot alike, and it was funny because Clyde, when he said, when you meet Art, you can say people say he looks a lot like me, and I remember that. But do you remember? Could you actually? What was your freshman year, Art?
My freshman year, now, my freshman year I was sitting out because I was not eligible academically. So I didn't really start until I was a sophomore.
Okay.
But looking at the team as I was there, our freshman year, there was very few Gregs and Shafers there back in the day. So having you guys come in, Ball State was expanding quite a bit. But our freshman year was, I enjoyed school, but I was not eligible to participate until that next fall.
Okay. Well, that leads to maybe one of our first topics is the lens on things as an African American football player in the early '70s when you first came to Ball State. Now the question is, was Dave McClain your first coach?
No, Wade Myers was the coach when I got there.
Okay.
Dave McClain came in as I was in my junior year. So my sophomore year, and Dave McClain actually kind of and Wade Myers kind of worked together that first year Dave was there, but Wade Myers moved out of the way real quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But my sophomore year when I started playing, there was literally a whole new different coaching staff than what you guys received when you came in.
Mm-hmm.
You guys had the opportunity to have Dave McClain and all the people he recruited. Wallace, that was one little short guy. What's the linebacker coach, defensive back coach? What's his name?
Oh, Ankney.
Who?
Mo
Ankney, yeah. And the linebacker coach actually was, I can't think of his name now. He's old.
Was it Hillary? Hillis.
Hillis, yeah, that was his name. Yeah.
Hillis.
Senality's coming in here. I don't know. I can't remember people's name all the time. Getting old.
Right.
Yeah, you guys have to say it right.
Yeah, we're agreeing with you.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that so I came from Elkhart, Indiana, and I played for a coach named Tom Kurth.
Right. That was, you were down the street from me because I came from South Bend, Indiana.
Exactly. And Tom would be the character in Remember the Titans. He would be that character. He would be Coach Boone, only he was a white coach. And he was the coach during that time when we had a little the same climate that we have today. A lot of racial unrest. But it was a football team. It was a coach, the leadership of the coach that kind of brought that team together and in turn brought our community together.
Mm-hmm. I believe that.
Yeah, he just did a wonderful job. And Clyde was on one of those earlier teams because I remember in the '68 when there was a race riots in the schools and how all the football players kind of rallied everybody together and brought everybody together. And that was one of the first times I heard about Clyde Riley.
Okay.
And when he recruited me, one of the things he said to me, he said, we have a great coach. And at that time, I really wasn't the head level of consciousness. I was just so happy to be on a football team, but just to have a lens on the number of African-American Black players my freshman year was really, really nice, but it wasn't always that way. And I think I owe that to Coach McClain. Would you agree?
I absolutely agree. At the point that my freshman, there was one African-American on the defense.
What year?
Defensive squad in terms of the varsity team.
Okay.
And on the offensive team, there was two, Jim Crable and Charles Van Pelt.
Wow.
Other than that, there wasn't any. Now, freshman team came in with three other guys other than me, Ralph Sanders and Jesse, I think it was Stewart, but he might have finished school, but he didn't finish football. And a guy named Richard Gray out of Gary. So I think I would say that the progress that McLean made was awesome relative to bringing new flavor to the team. With respect to just him, the school was also, and I've talked about this a lot, the school was expanding tremendously. Because a couple of years before I got there, it's 1965, it became a university. And that's when it started filling its oats. And they started expanding things. And you guys got there. Oh, the architectural building, I'm not going to stay on this long, was a Quonset hut. But by the time you got there, the architect building was probably a, what, 8-story building?
Right.
Yeah. Right. Ball State was truly moving forward. And one last thing I'll get back to your Suggs is my freshman year, our freshman class that entered, African Americans, was 250. That covered the same number of African Americans as sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So it was 500 of us on campus, so we said, but freshman was half of it.
Wow.
So it made progress to see you guys come in with the Ohio connection. Those boys those men out of Ohio, somewhere out of Indianapolis. So you guys came in at a good time where it was trying to make some progress, not only in representation, but it was making progress in a school that was in development.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Went from Ball State Teachers College,
correct,
to Ball State University.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
Right. Greg, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I would just definitely agree with Art as coming into Ball State University. My background basically was coming from elementary school that was more or less 95% African American, and going into high school, I was probably in the 60-40 with Shortridge High School, and I think. The young man that Art was referring to was from Shortridge. I think Harris was his name. It was a linebacker, and he came from Shortridge. And then coming into Ball State, it was like 18,000 to the 500 that Art was referring to. So like, oh my God, this is like cultural shock.
Yeah, it was.
And even the music was different. The language was different, and so it was definitely a growing period for me to adapt to that type of environment. And I must say, the football team atmosphere helped that. It did. So it wasn't the color thing was not the dominant thing on the team. It was whether you could play or not, and you need to be able to demonstrate that you could participate at the level that we needed. So I appreciate that team atmosphere made the transition to college life a lot easier for me.
Right. And Shafer, you guys, both you and Greg, you guys recall the scramble light?
Yeah.
Okay. you could be in the middle of that light and not see anybody that you knew.
Right. Yes, they just light would change and everybody would converge and go to their classes and then clear. So yes.
But it's not so much the volume as much as you can really look around and say, wait, is there anybody else here in this? Right. We're talking 3,000-4,000 people at that moment.
Right.
Just moving real suddenly.
Yeah.
So,
I do. So I got a chance to talk to Clyde at some length last night, and he was able to share his, one of the things he shared with me was he got a chance, and I don't know, Art, you probably can remember this, but when you guys played a team in Ohio, you got a chance to stay, visit Ohio State University. Were you
where? Oh, several state schools in Ohio.
Yeah, Ohio State. Dave McLean also coached with Woody Hayes.
Right.
And he got a chance to go there, and Dave came from that melting pot of coaches.
Absolutely.
He came from where he came culturally. He came from a very diverse football culture, and so when I came as a freshman, I thought was probably I'm going to say this is probably the strongest class, the biggest class of African American football players that we've ever had.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
And with a lot of talent. A lot of talent. I remember, of course, I was a second-round draft pick, and I remember pulling up at Kitselman University. I'm going, oh my God, these guys are like professional football players.
Yeah.
I'm going to make this team because they look, and the perception was Ball State was this little bitty school.
Yeah. Yes.
And I went there, and I saw so much talent, but more importantly, I saw the same type of diversity I saw in high school.
Okay.
Really, really nice to see. And for me, I got a chance to meet. We had white players from rural Indiana. We had black players from Gary, Indianapolis. So you saw a lot of kids for the first time in their lives have close connections with kids of another color for the first time.
For the first
time. I mean, I'm talking about the first time. And for us to be in Kitselman, I don't know, Art, if you remember, but I think my first 2 years, we were all, Greg, if you remember this, Kitselman Hall, we were all in one big room.
Well, you guys are on the third floor.
Yeah.
The upperclassmen had the single rooms on the second floor.
Yeah.
Or first floor, whatever it was. Yeah.
Yes, I remember that. Climbing up to the second floor or third floor?
I think it was third floor.
Way up there, man.
Room. Yes. And
it was an attic, guys. Come on now.
It really was an attic. It was like the epitome of luxury up there, with bunk beds all the way around, and trying to get to sleep was always a challenge. But we were so tired it didn't matter. But music and talking and acting crazy. But
Question from Rex Dwyer. Hey Rex, how you doing? When did Pete Lee come in? Remember Pete Lee?
Yeah,
he came in a year before you guys did.
Okay.
All right. Let me give you McLean's exact words. His first year, we didn't produce as well as he wanted us to. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the season meeting in the locker room, he said, if you guys don't want to play, I'm going to go and get some players. And he went to junior colleges and brought in Wes and Jim and Golden and a couple other guys.
Okay.
And our attitude changed right then. I said, they are not going to get my position. Pete was one of those guys who came from Grand Rapids Junior College. So he would have came in my junior year. And Clyde, like you said, his social skills, he just got under Pete's skin right away.
You could do it. He would get on all the time. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah. Gosh. But yeah, playing against Pete Lee, can you imagine a freshman trying to block this guy? I mean, I know folks on the call may not know how huge he was and how powerful he was, but I remember doing our one-on-one drills. Like, oh my God, I can go up against him. Oh, it definitely scary.
Freshman year. Now, so for those, I'm going to be very specific. He was probably 260, 270.
At least 260.
Back in the beginning.
Right.
Running back. And because he was very athletic, and I know that he was a world-class wrestler also.
Yes.
And he was.
Wrestled in the Olympics. In fact, he broke one of the wrestlers' arms.
Yeah.
That's how strong he was.
Yeah. But those, it's nice, and as I continue down this journey with this show, I'm going to bring on more players because there's more of us. I mean, you talk about the brotherhood,
Yeah, yes, it was.
When I was talking about when I had my former Jet players on the team, this is the part that makes it worthwhile. The fact that 40, 45 years later, we are still extremely close. I mean, there's nothing. People ask me, what do you miss most about playing football? And that was the locker room. That was the camaraderie. That was the in sitting at Kissable Hall at the supper table. Everybody sitting around the table,
Yes, yes,
digging on each other.
Yes.
yes. Oh my gosh, you couldn't keep a straight face. You could not keep a straight face. Especially you mentioned Pete Lee. He was the ring leader of just messing with people the whole time. You couldn't stop laughing. So,
Right.
Well, Clyde egged him on.
yeah, that's true. Clyde would, and then Pete would break out into the Muncie Central theme song, and we were like, "Oh no, he's going to sing that again." So, he was a character. It really
awesome days. Let's kind of change gears a little bit and talk a little bit, because I think we kind of touched on the demographics and how it has changed over the years, but you remember one of the shows we've had is the amount of representation from a coaching perspective that's in college football. And African American coaches are very few in the college NCAA, as far as offensive coordinators, general managers. Let's go back to Ball State. Okay, and normally the positions that they coach was running back coaches.
Yeah.
So at Ball State, I was there for 4 years, and we had one African American coach, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Larry.
Well, we had one before Coach Cliff Knox.
Yep.
It was a guy from Indiana State named Verby Walters.
Okay.
Yeah, that's who recruited me. Verby recruited me my freshman year. But then when I got there, he says, "Okay, I'm going to Indiana State. I'll see you later." Wait a minute. You just recruited me to Ball State. And you said, "Oh, you don't want to go to Indiana State." And now you're going. So that was interesting. I was able to catch up with him when we played Indiana State, though. But it was fine, though. But yes, Verby Walters was the coach that came to my high school, met with my parents, and recruited me to Ball State.
Right. Well, let's talk about the importance and the impact as a young man, 21, 22 years old, the importance of having that lens and that face on the coaching staff. And do you remember the role that Coach Knox was a animated football coach?
Very
Yes.
much.
Do you remember the role that he had as a Black coach on that football staff?
Yeah. He was very well respected as well among every team member that was there and the other coaches. I had the honor, if you can call this an honor, being his babysitter. He had 2 little boys, and when he and Mrs. Knox would go out in the town, I would go over, and a young lady friend of mine, we would go over there and stay at the house while they were gone. So I became pretty well known with his family.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And although he was running back, he was reaching out to other positions also.
Absolutely.
Kind of somewhat like a father figure, if you will, talking to us about things outside of football.
True. That's true.
That the focus wasn't just our playing days, but also our academic days and how important it was. But I must admit, I had never heard or seen such a fiery, rev up presentation. Those pregame talks we'd have. And
yes.
Yeah, so we, other coaches would do their thing in terms of getting us fired up. But gosh, he was like a hometown preacher whenever he came into the locker room for our pregame prep talks, though.
You knew he was amped up, man. You would hear him. I don't know, one of my favorite. Let's talk about some of my brothers. David Blake. When David Blake came in, David, this All-American. Yeah. It was his baby, man, because he would be on David Blake all the time. David was a phenomenal running back.
Right.
On David all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. That was his baby. So just a different style, seeing the difference in the style and the way that he approached the game and the way he would try to inspire you to do your best or be your best. Definitely appreciated that.
Did you guys feel a connection? Did did you feel a connection with that coaching staff? And I remember my 4 years as a Black player. Did you feel a connection? Did you feel that there was any time where you were treated any different during those 4 years that you were there? Did you feel a connection with all the coaches?
Not necessarily all the coaches, but definitely our position coach, a guy named Scrivener.
Yeah.
He took care of Arthur Lax. And I don't mean any special favors, but he recognized and appreciated what I did and encouraged it to continue. Whereas I don't think I had a real connection with other coaches other than by coaching. Like Hillis was a defensive coordinator, and so that was cool. But Scrivener is a guy who really kept a rein on me to keep me there, keep me working hard at it. And he was there before any of the other coaches came. You guys know, Scrivener was there when I was a freshman.
Yes. I remember. I agree with you. I was closer to my position coach than the other coaches. I knew them.
Yeah.
My position coach was Aubrey. Remember Aubrey?
Yeah.
Aubrey, and even we've talked to him even after I've left college. But he had a real nice, open type personality that you felt comfortable with, and definitely would correct you when you were making a mistake, but you didn't feel like it was just you he was pointing to. You knew you had messed up, and you needed to correct it. But I felt closer to him than some of the other coaches, and of course
he was young though.
Well, yeah, it's probably closer to our age.
Yeah.
So that makes a difference also.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to share something with you guys. I felt, and this is a great thing, but I felt probably more of a connection on the football team with the football coaches at Ball State and football players at Ball State. I probably felt just as much as I felt when I played for the Jets. I felt that there was a lot of just trying to connect with all of the players. Obviously there's some microaggressions that we all, as we grow up, but I felt with Coach Dave McClain's coaching staff, they really went out of their way to treat every player based on their skills, based on their personality, their character. We had some different players, but I really saw a collaborative effort. And I think that's why we were so good. We went through that, Mark, you will say this, we went through a transition from, and you shared this with me the other day, from playing the Anderson colleges, or we went for the ICC, correct?
Yeah.
Maybe you can kind of share, because we went through that transition, but when we got into the MAC,
yes,
that's the class that we had. And I think the year after I left, we won the MAC, but we had 5, and we were just a dynamic group of football players.
Right.
And there was a strong, I know that there was different cliques and stuff like that, but I will say, with my lens, and I've had a lens on just obviously playing at the next level, I say that was one of the better experiences I've had in my football career. Other than high school is phenomenal too.
Right.
But you guys,
one of the things about McClain, he was on a journey. So he came to Ball State. He did a tenure there. Then he went to University of Wisconsin, and there I think he won the Rose Bowl, didn't he?
I'm not.
Or he went to it for sure.
Right.
So my point is he put together a team on a mission, and I think that's what the previous coach lacked. The previous coach was ICC guy. We'll beat up Butler, we'll beat up Wabash, we'll beat up DePaul. And then they got a new president in at the university, and then they really want to go for big time if you can. And show you how big time has worked there. They went from playing ICC when I was there to playing Notre Dame last year.
Yeah.
And that is an awesome journey. And McClain is, as Shafer, you guys had him more than I did. He was a very instrumental person in making the school move, progress, and get to the level where they are today. So you guys came in at the right time to sow some seeds for growth.
Right. Yeah, it was pain, 5-5 since my couple years were we were 5-5. All of a sudden, at junior year, we were like 7-3, and then got up to 8-2. So we were definitely progressing in the right direction, and more and more competition at the time. And I think I saw an evolution, I think, on the team in terms of player attitude. You start losing a lot, you got that losing attitude, like, oh, well, I'm not going to put any more effort in because it's going to end up in a loss anyway. But I could see when we were down, that attitude started to change where, yeah, we're down, but we're still going to put our effort in because there's a possibility we can come out of this a winner. And I think that attitude changed as we started to get more talent and started to get better with our ability. So it was interesting, and I look back on it to watch and be a part of the evolution of those teams back in the 70s.
I'm going to, Shafer, I'm going to say this, that when, as I look at those guys that was on my freshman team, even though I was not on the ground with them, how many of those people left under Coach McLean? I mean, without naming names, there was a lot of guys who left Ball State when Coach McLean came, because he brought in somebody that says, you're going to work. If you're not going to work, you got to go. And they did.
Right.
Different. And they see that's hard. Was that freshman, and then of course you are. I saw just Jim Lewis. I mean, and for me, I just came into my own my senior year, so I didn't get recruited heavily. I didn't know if I wanted to play football or basketball. I know I wanted to play both, and there was not very many schools wanted to take a chance on somebody who wanted to play both. And then when Ball State came, Mo Aintley came to the school. He said, you just need to come check it out. And then, then I met Clyde, because Clyde was just an ambassador of school.
He was.
It was an ambassador of school, a good representation of how it transcended. And I felt so comfortable with that. Art, you and I had a conversation maybe last week, and we talked a little bit about perception in different positions that African American players played.
Okay.
And we talked about the position of quarterback. And you shared a story with me. I don't know if you remember having the conversation.
I do.
Kid that was playing, and this is what, 67, 68, 69? I don't know what year it was.
No, well, I graduated from high school in 69, so I was at Ball State.
I know when you had leather helmets. I know that. Okay.
Okay. Say again, please.
They had leather helmets.
Yeah. With no face masks, right? No face mask.
Well, Shafer, then that means that you and I played together, because we played Elkhart every year.
I know.
South Bend. But if you're referencing, there was one incident at Ball State at the stadium where there was a young man came in from Ohio that thought he wanted to be quarterback, and they had moved into a different position and didn't give him a chance to do quarterback. And he felt like he was being discriminated against. And we, as a group of Black players, we did talk to the coaching staff at the stadium, short meeting, but I don't know that the results was that great, but we were heard. And not necessarily we had a problem, this one individual did. He moved on. He never become eligible to play quarterback, but he didn't play at Ball State anymore. He decided that, I can go someplace else. I don't know if he is, I can't remember his name. I think it was Dwight. I don't know if he was there when you guys got there.
No.
Okay.
So
that kind of leads me to my next topic is, to kind of bring us to today, a little bit about athletes' role in speaking and standing up, and creating a narrative about social injustice. Because back in those days, we had, it was Jim Brown, Muhammad Ali,
Mhm.
Bill Russell. You had the civil rights movement. You had Jackie Robinson. But you're run of the mill player that you know, it was hard. It was hard to kind of stand up, but they did stand up. And I want to kind of get your feedback on why people are so upset with athletes standing up with social justice. Now, when it first started a few months ago with Floyd, but we're
Mhm.
right now, it's like, okay, that's enough. Okay.
Right.
But it's not enough. Okay. Why do you feel that people are upset? I mean, because there are obviously a population of people that are upset, especially after what happened yesterday. And I saw a really good interview with LeBron James yesterday. It was phenomenal, almost in tears.
Right.
Why do you feel that there's still um, that pushback on athletes having a voice?
I, you know, I'll jump in. I'm sure Art will follow up. Uh, I just think society has this attitude that on one day I want you to be a role model, Mr. Athlete, and I want my kids to follow you. And then on the next day, when you say something that is contrary to what I believe in, then I don't want you to say anything. And so it doesn't go that way. It really, athletes have minds too, otherwise they really wouldn't be in the game. And so we have to kind of get out of this gladiator mentality that you're just there to entertain us and not have a thought about anything else.
You shut up and dribble.
Just shut up and dribble. You know,
Yeah.
that just burns me up, to be honest with you. And so these guys who have made it to the top, and they've made it, they're on their stage that everybody's viewing them, then I don't see why we can't have a thought or two that we can share. Now, it's not necessarily trying to influence you out of your thoughts, but this is what I think as a human being. You know, my athletic helmet is off, you know, so to speak. I'm speaking to you as a human, and these things are happening around us. They affect not only me and my family, but it affects the whole country. So to have them shut them down for whatever reason makes no sense to me. Okay, but
Well said, Greg. That was well said. I don't have a whole lot to add to that at all. I'm glad that there were some Bill Russells in the past,
mhm.
and I think there's going to be some other people in the future. But if we don't have people who say anything, then the problem will never be solved. So speaking and talking will bring people together, not at necessarily the pace that we want to get together, but speaking and talking to each other in all venues will help things become a little more harmonious, and especially harmonious with respect to taking lives. That needs to come to an end.
Right.
Well, there's acknowledgement that a level of understanding, a level of education. Okay,
Right.
and I think that we have went through that. We have to continue that acknowledgement that it exists,
Yes, that's true.
Right.
and level of education.
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies, and I always ask my friends. I thought, and I can't believe I didn't see it, but the 13th Amendment was one of my favorite shows as a Black history major. It's kind of opened my lens to, okay, wow, I knew this, but just watching this kind of brings it full circle, what's going on.
Right.
And I always make this a recommendation. But, we get into like the last 10 minutes, but I wanted to share a lens on healing. That's what we really need to kind of begin to focus on. Obviously acknowledgement,
Mhm.
accepting, but begin to heal. And so I want to ask you guys this question, okay? And I wrote it out. With all our years, we're all in our 60s, and we're in a huddle, and each one of us can call a play. And the play that we want to run is to create some yardage that will allow us to accomplish some level of social injustice. What would that play be called? What would you call? What kind of play would you call, Greg?
What kind of play would I call? Right 42, wing left. I don't know, Shafer. What I saw as we went through the experience of playing on the teams, in high school and in college, is that we all came together because we had a common enemy. And maybe not, enemy may be too strong, but we had a common goal or a common adversary. And the things that you mentioned as far as coming together and communicating, we experienced that on the team, where folks who had not experienced being with folks of other color, we had team meetings and we actually talked about why this group of people can do certain things and the others can't. And I think once we had that communication, that coming together and that willingness to understand and listen, then we learned something from that and we could make adjustments. And so I think somehow in society, that's what we've got to do, have a willingness to listen, have an open and frank conversation without you getting upset. Okay, don't get upset because I have a different view, because that's what we're made up of. And then try to understand where the other people are coming from, because I had a pastor, he said that he went to a meeting and one of the people at the meeting said, "What do you people want?" So my pastor said, "Well, listen, make a list of everything that you want and then sign my name at the bottom." Okay. That's it. We want the same thing. We want our families. We want good schools for our kids. We want to raise them up. We want all the same things. So I don't know why we keep making these big differences. Okay. We all do the same thing. Okay.
There was it's kind of a harsh statement, but it's a true statement. It says, all that it takes for evil to prevail is that good people do nothing. Mm-hmm. And these people who are out there in these athletic teams, they're some good people. Okay. So at some point in time, these good people have to do something in order to counterbalance the littleness of the evilness that's going on. And I don't mean evilness in terms of, well, it really means fatality, but my point is the good people, LeBron James, your Bill Russells, your other athletes who come out and speak, especially the ladies in the WNBA, they are just trying to say what you said, Greg, sign my name on that list that you want, because that's all I want. That's all I want. Yep. And if people get together and talk about things, that will change. And my opinion is it's a few people that have this extreme view that causes so much disruption in the system. The little 17-year-old kid, that kid shouldn't have been walking down the street with an AR-15. No. There's no reason for that kid to have that kind of mentality.
Right.
Somebody not so good has messed with his mind. And if he was on our team, he'd be right with us. But right. Because he's isolated somewhere in Illinois, I think it was, that causes him to grow up thinking those small ideas. But as long as you get together, like I said, Ball State was growing. And that caused us to come together because we wanted to build something. And if we can get people to get together and build something, coaches and what do you call those people at the top of the basketball league? What's his coach of that basketball guy's name? Bald-headed guy. What's his name? But anyway, those guys are making. It's not just the black athletes that are making noise or making it known their feelings. Some of the heads of the institutions, the NFL, the NBA, they are doing some work to bring this together too. Just like Dave McClain did what he had to do to bring us together. Right. There's some coaches and heads of the institutions that are trying to do the same thing, and it'll get better. but unfortunately, we lose too many lives in the process. So I will say that chances are things will change, but it's slow. Just like you was talking about how it's from 65 to where did you guys play in the MAC?
Right.
It takes about 7-8 years to get there.
Yeah.
Or longer. So
Yeah,
and other people was looking, and again, other people was looking for that too.
Right.
Believe me, Northern, Western Michigan, Eastern Michigan, Ohio, University of Ohio, all trying to find, was all the same goal that we were, trying to build a better program of athletics in our schools. And if we want to do that in society, we're going to have those same kind of people and attitudes to build better programs in our communities.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate the time we spent. This was a wonderful show, and I just you share. We talked about a lot of good topics, and I obviously want to bring you back again. Set the framework to how it should be done, and I thought the 4 years of Ball State was amazing. Now we're repeating. Athletes are taking a stand, and I'm so I am so proud of those guys. But Greg, love you, man. Love you.
Hey, Shafer, before we go, give us an update on Yale.
So yeah, Yale is, Devin has been there for 4 weeks. They're probably not going to play. The Ivies made a decision in July not to play. That will give him obviously another semester at Yale.
Okay.
He will get 4 years. They are working out, but I don't see it. They made a very strong stance early in July that they would not play in the fall, and maybe a 2% chance playing in the spring. And there's no revenue that they're missing because they don't play in bowl game for 10 games. So he's doing well. I miss football. I miss him. I miss football. And for you viewers, these two men on this show were there to support my kids. They came and watched them play, take pictures of take pictures of my kids. So it's just a joy to have you guys on. And so just thank you. And for our viewers, this is Faith 3. Thank you so much for stopping by. You can catch us on our website, on our Facebook page. I want to thank Amazon Fire, Facebook, Roku TV, and more importantly, our key platform out of Phoenix, Arizona, E360 TV. And our slogan, let go, let God, let go, let faith, let go, let love. Thank you, and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.